Welcome to the Sharkpreneur podcast with Kevin Harrington and Seth Greene. Kevin Harrington is the inventor of the infomercial, one of the original sharks from the hit TV show Shark Tank, and has generated over $5 billion in TV and digital direct response sales. Seth Greene is the world's first trusted authority on cutting-edge direct response marketing, a best-selling author, and the only 3-time Marketer of the Year nominee. On the podcast, Kevin and Seth interview sharkpreneurs who share straight talk on what it takes to explode your business.
49 faces looked to him in triumph. Over the last 12 months, they had each taken turns and promoted his business for a week at a time, driving over $987,342 in revenue. What if you had a network of 50 centers of influence who promoted your business every week for a year? Grab your copy of the #1 Amazon best-selling book, The Ultimate Guide to Growing Your Business with a Podcast, at 33% off the Amazon price by going to ultimatepodcastbook.com. Again, that website for 33% off the Amazon price is ultimatepodcastbook.com. Welcome to the podcast. This is your co-host, Seth Greene. Today, I've got the good fortune to be joined by Ryan Joseph Kopyar, an acclaimed author, keynote speaker, internationally regarded vulnerability coach, and licensed counselor. He is a transformational figure in the fields of psychology and personal development, focused on helping men become more in tune with and expressive of their emotions, something my wife asks me for all the time. He has authored multiple books, including Unlock the Power of Your Mind and his new book out this year, Big Boys Do Cry, A Man's Guide to Navigating Emotions and Showing Up More Vulnerable in Relationship. Ryan, thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, Seth, thank you so much for having me. Super grateful to be here with you.
Our pleasure. So let's go back in time. How does one become a relationship and vulnerability coach and counselor? How did you get started?
Okay, well, it comes from not crying for a long time. Almost 3 decades of my life, I didn't cry. I had some trauma and, the death of my mother and unborn sister just before my 3rd birthday. And I kept a lot of that pain inside. I kept a lot of that trauma inside. And I realized as I began my healing journey, whoa, there was a lot that I was doing to keep this suppressed in some non-serving, unhealthy ways, drugs, alcohol, partying. And I said, okay, if I can get this thing figured out and I can work on my own healing, I want to spend the rest of my life helping other men and women, but I work more with men in helping them on their healing journey.
Awesome. That makes total sense. I'm sure the longer version of that story is probably in a book, one of your books.
Yes.
So why do you think as men, we aren't as expressive and we aren't as in touch with our emotions? And why is it so important for us to overcome that?
I think that there's 2 aspects to it, or 2 main aspects. Men are more left brain dominant. That means that they're more logic, problem focused. Okay, how do we get from A to B? Let's put the plan in place and let's get there. Women are more right brain focused, and this is more in touch with their emotions, creativity, nurturing. So for men to get out of the left side of their brain and get into the right side of their brain, that's not something that kind of they're naturally hardwired to do. So that's one of the biggest reasons, I think, at kind of a biological level, that men struggle more to get in touch and express their emotions. But I also think it has a lot to do with Western society and men being labeled as, hey, you've got to be the stoic, tough guy, don't cry, that's a sign of weakness. And when that's, generationally coming down and down and down, a lot of men are not made to believe from childhood, right, that it's okay to cry, it's okay to express your thoughts, feelings, and emotions, because they never saw the male caretakers in their life doing it.
That makes a lot of sense. What's at stake for us if we don't do this? What happens if we don't change and keep doing things the way they've been done?
That's a great question. It can have a deleterious impact in our relationships with those that we love. Remember, it is through vulnerability that we have communication. And through communication, we have connection. And through connection, we have love and deeper levels of love with those that we care about. So being vulnerable and being able to get in touch with our heart and being able to communicate those emotions, and that is fundamental part of human nature and creating connection, whether that's in the boardroom with people or whether that's at home in our interpersonal relationships with those that we love. That's super important to do. And to not do it can lead to disconnection with those that we love, or not allow optimal levels of leadership or buy-in in the business sense.
That makes a lot of sense. How did you break through your own issues, blocks, things that were holding you back?
Sure. So in 2018, I had a very serious car accident. I was stopped at a red light, hit from behind by an SUV going about 40 miles an hour. I was all banged up. I had herniations in my neck and my lower back and torn rotator cuff, and I was a mess. That was physically. Mentally and emotionally, I was also diagnosed with PTSD. And that got me into doing counseling. It wasn't the first time that I had done counseling, but got me into doing counseling. And through some work with an amazing therapist, anybody that lives in New Jersey, Billy Mercedes, he's an amazing, amazing counselor. He helped me to understand, well, there's a lot of pain and trauma, not just from the car accident, but from the death of my mother and my sister that I hadn't dealt with. And so when Billy created an environment for me to have that healing, it was like, oh, wow, I'm crying. I'm connected into my emotions. And wow, Seth, I felt lighter. And as I started to feel lighter and I got out of my head and into my heart, I started to realize, wow, this is, this is a much better way of living life. And Billy encouraged me to become a counselor, and the rest is history.
That is absolutely incredible. I love that your own journey through the pain helped inspire your journey, your desire to help others. And obviously you've had quite an impact doing that. What was your inspiration? Why write Big Boys Don't Cry?
Mm.
Big Boys Do Cry, I'm sorry.
Yes, well, don't, that therein lies the Freudian slip, lies the message, right? Don't is that in my prayer and meditation, I just kept hearing, right? Big boys don't. And I saw it in my mind, the don't crossed out, do cry. And so in my prayer and meditation, that message kept coming through. And then in the work that I do with men, just so often I would see it where men would come to me very guarded, very kind of stoic. And in the process of counseling, they would start to open up. They would start to become vulnerable. And when you see a individual that served and did 2 tours in Iraq, who was, hardened guy, very black and white, no emotion. And within a session or two of counseling, he starts to break down and crying and sharing about fears and regrets and different things like that. It's like, wow, you really start to see, I really started to see anyways, that there was a lot of men out there and a lot of pain holding a lot of it inside.
Absolutely. That makes tons of sense. Why do you think you have an interesting take on it, and that you talk about how this isn't just for your relationship with your kids. This isn't just for your relationship with your spouse. This also affects how you show up in the world and your business relationships as well. So there's potentially a financial ROI, not just a emotional ROI.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that.
Sure. I'm going to share a story about the Reese's, what I call my Reese's peanut butter cup moments. So I'm working at LA Fitness and sat down with one of the regional vice presidents. His name was Mike. And, Mike said, Ryan, you're so talented. You're so well-spoken. You're in great shape. Like, what's going on here, man? What's the breakdown? Because I know where you're capable of performing sales-wise, but you're not there. And I had come back from lunch and I had some Reese's peanut butter cups on my desk. And he looks at me and he goes, "Are those yours?" And I said, "Yeah, Mike, I got a soft spot for popcorn and Reese's peanut butter cups." And he goes, "That's it, man. That's it right there." He goes, "People look at you and they feel like they need to tell you what you want to hear because they don't want to let you down." And think about how often in the business world that happens, whether it's us out there trying to make sales or whether that's with those that work for us, right? If we're in a leadership or a management position, a lot of times people want to tell us what we want to hear because they don't want to let us down. It's not because they don't want to not do the job optimally, it's because maybe they don't know how and they're down. So, anyways, he goes, "I want you to leave the Reese's peanut butter cups on your desk for the rest of the night." You looked at my schedule. Okay, you got 3 sales appointments in here, fitness consultations, because I want you to leave the peanut butter cups on the desk. And when the people come, I want you to kind of pretend like, like, oh God, you caught me. So Seth, that day I did it that night, and I think I closed 2 out of the 3 people. And that showed me the power of vulnerability in sales. That showed me the power of vulnerability as it relates to then translating that as I was a multi-unit manager of, hey, when we're vulnerable with other people, we're going to be able to create deeper levels of connection. And when we can create that connection, then we can really help them.
That's a beautiful thing. Your work has had a transformational effect for those who have participated. I know obviously client identity is confidentiality, so Mr. Jones, Mr. Smith, whatever, can you share with us an example of this is what this gentleman, who, kind of what he did, what he was struggling with, what the issues were, how you're able to help him in that kind of magical transformation that came out on the other side?
Yes, very often, I'll speak generally, obviously, for HIPAA reasons. Very often as it relates to couples counseling, because I do some work with couples, the wife or the spouse or the partner will come to me and say, I really want to get engaged in a couples counseling. I don't know if we can bring my husband along. He's really shut down. He's really guarded. He's really not open to the idea of counseling. And we'll eventually get it to the point where we can do that initial session or 2. And then very frequently, the man will say, you know what, maybe I think I want to do a couple sessions with Ryan. And then from there, we start our one-on-one work together. And to see the transformation that can happen when we can do that one-on-one work with the man, and then how that translates into, oh my gosh, he's speaking my love language. He's being more present with me. He's, telling me that he loves me. And here's a big one. He's telling me that he's sorry. He's demonstrating emotional flexibility to say, hey, I'm sorry. Hey, these are some areas that I'm still working in. That transforms the marriage. It transforms the relationship. So not only do I think that the men then live lighter, live happier, live more from their hearts, but it also helps to really heal the relationship and the marriage.
That is awesome. Now, how do you work with men who want to work with you? Is that Zoom? Is that physical? Do they have to be in your city? Is this, how do your programs work?
Sure. So to do one-on-one counseling with me, I can only be done in the geographical areas where I'm licensed. So that's British Columbia, Canada, Washington State, and Oregon State in the United States. But my men vulnerability coaching program, which is not as intense, kind of deep into the trauma, that's available anywhere in the world. And that's all done via Zoom.
Awesome. And then for our folks, for our men who are watching and listening and want to learn more, where is the best place for them to learn more about Ryan? Where is the best place for them to go to get the book?
Sure. So they could get the book at Amazon or on my website, www.ryankopyarholistichealing.com.
Awesome. This is Seth Greene with Ryan Kopyar. Ryan, thank you so much for your time. We know it's incredibly valuable.
Awesome. Thanks, Seth.
Thanks, everybody, for watching or listening. We will talk to you or see you next time.
Why do so many businesses struggle while others seem to explode overnight? Do you wish you had the secret to this type of exponential growth? Now, I've scaled more than 20 businesses to over $100 million, and it's not just luck. In my new book with Mark Tim, Mentor to Millions, you'll learn the repeatable framework I use in all my business ventures for massive success. Order at kevinmentor.com and get over $1,000 in bonuses. Head to kevinmentor.com.